Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening. Welcome to 2024 elections. Of course, as a show, we're coming to you every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday to, of course, preview some political parties, civil societies, certain think tanks around South Africa as we look ahead to the elections. Yes, we are just over 3 weeks away before it starts. Now, the party that we're going to be previewing today is the African Independent Congress. Now, this was a party that was founded in the 12th of December 2005, close to 19 years ago in Matatiele. And of course, a lot of it was the IEC protesting against the location of the area within the boundaries of the Eastern Cape province. Now, fast forward to today, or even fast forward a couple of years ago, coalition politics has played quite a huge role, and the AIC has been deep into the mix of coalition politics. Of course, Margaret Arnolds, its Treasurer General, currently serves as the City of Johannesburg Speaker. Just a few months ago, Siveleng Godwana was the executive mayor of Ekurhuleni, of course, up until he received a motion of no confidence. But it's a party that's in the mix in the metros. And joining me to discuss the ACI as they look ahead to the elections, I'd like to welcome Themba Mhlongo. He is the Secretary General of the party. Themba, good day. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hilaal TV.
Good day, sir. Thanks to having us here, and greetings to your viewers as well.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Okay, let's talk about obviously 19 years into the existence of the AIC. Your party has been in the mix with regards to coalition governments. Do you feel you've made enough noise for the AIC to be a party worth being recognized, not just within the metros? I'm going to get to the National Assembly in a bit, but within the metros and municipalities.
Oh, definitely. We have just done a lot of impact in the metros. I'm just going to point out to the metro of the city of Johannesburg, yes, where I serve as a councillor as well. You know, Councillor Margaret and myself, we call all the smaller parties together. After we just went to the lecture that was given to us by Professor Ralph Moteja, telling telling all the political parties that were there, the force that the smaller parties could have, or the impact that the smaller parties could have in the municipality. We joined together with other smaller political parties, as we are just speaking now. They know us, they call us minority parties in the city of Johannesburg. And we've got a huge participation in that municipality. And we've got the influence of the policy direction of how the municipality could run. That's what we are doing. So the AIC is in that mix of those, kind of arrangements.
I want to talk about your manifesto, of course. It speaks to very similar, ideals that you had, of course, back in 2016 when, coalition governments really took quite an influence there. A lot of it, of course, speaks of the energy crisis, speaks of unemployment, speaks of the current state of the criminal justice system. How does the AIC fix that, given that, all three of that I mentioned, and there's so much more, is currently on the backbone right now?
Yeah, on the electricity side, we are just going to break this monopoly by Eskom, because that is where the problem lies. Eskom it's very been monopolizing the electricity issue. What are we going to do as the party, as the political party? We are going to break even from the Eskom. We'll allow other competitors to chip into the space so that there's competition there, so that we are trying to eliminate completely this load shedding thing. We don't say we want to reduce the load shedding. We want to eliminate completely. If there is any infrastructure that needs to be built, once we take over from the government, then we are going to start with that. Because we know that electricity, the impact that non-electricity in the households, what does it do in our houses? So we are going to completely eliminate the load shedding.
And criminal justice system, that's obviously something which is quite a hindrance to us right now.
Criminal justice system, there was a unit that was called Scorpions, to be precise. We'll bring it back, definitely, because that was the unit from the policing side that was doing its job completely without aligning themselves with any political party, so on and so forth. And now the problem, why the ruling party dismantled the Scorpion, because it started to bite them. Because if you look at the corruption, where did the corruption start? It started with them. We don't say this thing as a rhetoric statement. The proof is there that why did they kill Scorpion? Why did they dismantle Scorpion? Because they wanted to protect their interests. That is all. We're going to reintroduce the Scorpion. If the population of South Africa can vote for us, definitely we'll make sure that the corruption is completely dismantled.
Unemployment 32.1%. This is a figure, of course, from Stats SA. It could be higher. How does the AIC address that?
We're going to cut the right tape. You know, now people are just banking on the government to provide jobs, and government does not provide jobs. The government is supposed to provide social cohesion among the citizens. The people that must provide in partnership with the government is the private sector. How do you then get into the private sector? How do you then get investment to come into the country? This is what we are going to look. We are going to cut the red tape, and we are going to make sure that the factories, industries that were there before this government took over, they'll come back again. Speaking, of course, with other stakeholders.
Okay. I want to come back to, of course, coalition governments because, you know, as I mentioned in the start, you know, the AIC has played quite a big role. Let's start off, of course, in 2019 in Nelson Mandela Bay, of course. You've got your representative, Tsonono Buyeye, who comes in as the mayor. Quite a big, because I remember, you know, watching it on TV in the Nelson Mandela Bay. It was, you know, to inform when it came to with regards to negotiations there. And then, of course, March last year, the city of Ekurhuleni sitting without a mayor, and then you go ahead and you negotiate along with the ANC to try and get Sivohile Godwana as the mayor of Ekurhuleni. When you look at those two instances, and even if it had short-term success at the time, do you feel that smaller parties like the AIC have that power to really make the pool of the kingmaker in the metros?
Oh, definitely, absolutely, yes. I will tell you the reason why the vote of no confidence against the former mayor Sivohile Godwana came about. It was not his failure to deliver the service to the residents. If you look at back and your research, what did he do since he took over, or in that 100 days that he took over as a mayor? There was no strikes. There were no service delivery protests after he had just taken over. What played out in Ekurhuleni municipality was just politicking, where people just wanted to get into the positions. Others wanted to win back the municipality at the back door. Because if you look at the negotiations, the arrangement that they made in Ekurhuleni, it is totally different from Johannesburg. In Ekurhuleni, it was just the big guys. It was ANC and the EFF. Those are the people that made the deal that, okay, if we're taking over as the government here in Ekurhuleni, we are not going to allow any of us as EFF and ANC to have a mayorship. We're going to give the mayorship to the smaller parties, of which that was well and good. But now, you know what, once that mayor was there, definitely he was exposed to be pulled around by whoever wanted to pull him around. So that is where the problem began. Not that he failed on the service delivery. As of now, he's the MMC for corporate and shared services. That is a very, very powerful position that was given. That shows the confidence in him. So for him to be removed as a mayor, it was not a failure to service delivery. It was just a failure because they wanted to. You know, coalition politics are very difficult. You cannot manage a lot of political parties that came together with different views.
Yeah, and I mean, this brings the next question. You know, when you look at what's happening in the metros and the municipalities, democracy, of course, allows for coalition governments. But where do you think is the fine line of having stability? Because the residents at the end of the day are going to be the ones that are suffering.
Suffering, yes.
And you know, you mentioned Ekurhuleni, and I'm from there, and I sometimes see it also in many of the areas which are still underprivileged, where service delivery is not getting there. In Johannesburg, Tshwane, being, you know, other cities that are also suffering the same fate. So how do we bring a sense of stability so that the residents can get the service delivery that they deserve?
It's transparency. You know, when the parties sit down around the table and negotiate about who forms the coalition with who, then there should be transparency and accountability. Because we must the voters, they must know what deal have you signed before for me to enter into your space. You know, for AIC, let me just take you back in 2016 when this coalition, it came to the metros. The AIC went into coalition with the ANC. No one in South Africa didn't know what was the deal between us and the ANC because we were so transparent about it. We said to the ANC, if you bring Matatel back, because that's what the people, our constituency needed by that time, that we wanted to be administered. It does not mean, it didn't mean that we are going to move the whole town or the whole people of Matatel to KZN, but they wanted to be administered from KZN for one reason only: the service delivery is better. If you compare the same, these two provinces, KZN is better than the Eastern Cape instead of service delivery. And other thing, our children, the children of the people of Matatel, they go to school in KZN, they shop in Durban, The transport, when you just drive from Matatiele, the first province that you get into is KZN. It's just a transit highway. That is why we said when we negotiate with the ANC, let us be open of what demand do you want us for us to give you the power. That's all. If all these other political parties at the national level will do that, so that the voters out there could understand what is the deal between these parties. Because if that is not, I'm telling you, the coalition is not going to be stable. Oh. Let me just bet you the last cent now that I have in my pocket.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be interesting. The conversation after this, we're going to be talking from a national level. How is coalition politics going to work? Because the AIC, who has seats in parliament, could play quite a huge role, and some other new parties that are coming in to the frame. Do stay tuned to 2024 elections. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to 2024 elections. My name is Faraz Patel. Of course, we are in conversation with the African Independent Congress and its Secretary General, Themba Mhlongo. Themba, let's talk from a national level, of course. The IEC has seats in Parliament. Even if it's, a very minuscule number, it's quite a huge one still. And we speak about the influence of the parties with smaller seats within the National Assembly. How would you assess from the time that the AIC has had its seats within Parliament up until now?
I think we've just gained a lot of experience. Remember, before we didn't have any government experience, how to run the government and all these things. For us to be having deployees or the members that are sitting in the National Parliament, it also gave us that edge among those newcomers that have come. Now we have got a little bit of experience. We know actually if we win, we know who could we put to which position so that people of South Africa cannot suffer the services, cannot suffer service delivery while we are under our watch, while we are sitting in Parliament. So we have gained in that space, we have gained experience, more experience.
Yeah, but of course, in the metros and municipalities, you've had quite an influence. How do you see the AIC having its influence on a national level? Because according to the polls, according to the predictions from the political analysts, the ANC is going to be dropping below its majority, which opens up coalition governments. How do you see it planning out?
Now it will play out. It will depend on which parties do they come together. I think the parties would prefer the parties that are having the similar
values, yes.
That could manage that kind of instability in the government. But if you, for the sake of that, I want to be in power, I could rope in any party that I want, even if we've got different values and all these things. It won't play out well. It won't be good because if you look at the current situation now in the municipalities, it's about positioning. Where do you put my party at? Which position are you going to give it to me? So that kind of arrangement is not the kind of arrangement that could last longer. Because once you fail to deliver what you promised me, then I start to cause chaos. I say, I'm going to jump the ship, I'm going to form the coalition with other party that is not in the majority or not ruling in power, not in power as of we're speaking. So that kind of a situation, I think they've got to be regulated. This coalition needs to be regulated. We need to have a framework of how to control these coalitions. More especially at national level, I feel that maybe we can do things right.
Well, they have to do things right because I think, I mean, you'd agree with me, Themba, that the last thing you want is a revolving president.
Yes.
Which we see obviously in the metro. So how important is that framework? Because there was discussions, there was a dialogue that happened with regards to a coalition government. How far that dialogue went, we don't know. But can there be a sense of stability from a national level? Because this is the executive. Yeah. This is where the buck stops.
Exactly. Now, I think that's why I say it should be regulated, and there must be a framework that will be put in place in this form, as we are saying. If we are going to have a president that will be almost every day being rotated, the country cannot. The whole country. It's not only the parliament. Remember, the parliament is the heart of the whole country. So the whole country will suffer. That is why I say whichever political party is going to form a coalition, they must form the coalition openly, transparently, so that all of us as voters as well could see what deal did we make, so that whichever party that runs away or reneges on that deal could be held accountable for that. I think if we're going to do that, then we'll have a stable government.
Themba, of course, Mr. Gallo is your president, and of course, he sits in the National Assembly. I just want to get, obviously, you know, when it comes to the negotiating for uh, coalitions, and the AIC, goes ahead and has a part to play in this. Which political party do you see as very similar to the AIC? I ask us because obviously you negotiated with the ANC in Nelson Mandela Bay. You negotiated with the UDM and the DA. So which parties aligns to the AIC, or is it a matter of what can you do for the citizens of the country?
Yeah. Ours, when we sit around the table, we always look at and we say, let us take the citizen first in everything that we are doing. That is why we'll arise above the party politics. Mr. Gallo is our representative in parliament. He comes back to get the mandate from the party. And then the party will give him the mandate to go to parliament, because we are looking at, we are living inside the constituencies. So we know what constituencies need. Then we tell him that mandate, that go and say that. But if a head of the country reports to his party and takes the mandate from his party and goes to implement that, I think we've got a problem here. That is why, as the AIC, we say maybe in other years to come, we will need, as the political parties, vote for any member of parliament to go as political parties. But when it comes to president, let all South Africa, like ours as the AIC, let us say we are enlisting Mr. Gallo to be the president of the country, and the other party says we are enlisting whoever they want to enlist as then the whole society votes for those people. Yes. Whoever, so that president will account to the people, not to the political party. Because once you start accounting to the political party, there'll be a problem.
The political party funding, of course, just yesterday it was released. We're talking of air, and you were saying that, of course, smaller parties like the AIC really don't get much help. Is this, and of course, you're relying on the AIC to, of course, assist with regards to that. Is there a framework that you, as the AIC and other minority parties, are looking at to try and increase political party funding, given that, of course, there are daily costs and so much more that comes into it?
Yeah, the problem with this current setup of the political funding is very biased. It's biased towards those pick-up role players, like your party that is having a bigger size. Then it gets a bigger chunk of the fund. But at the same time, you can have about 49 people. If the vote says it needs 50, you need my seat. It means I've got the similar power that we have, because you cannot run the country if the threshold does not meet. Sure. So we've got to be at least considered. Not, it's a look. Some parties are getting millions and millions and millions of money from this political funding, while the smaller parties will get about 4 million. What is 4 million? Running for elections anyway. It's a drop in the ocean, because you cannot run. Even the material, the election material is so expensive these days. So from 4 million, you cannot even have a party. You cannot even have two parties or some other things that you can just run them. But you've got still to compete against these bigger brothers. How do we level the playing field in the whole situation? So what we say as the AIC, once we get into power, political parties will be equal. Whether you've got 170,000 of people, but as long as we are all there, needing each other. Because our job to be in parliament is to service the people, not for us to get rich because of the parliament, no.
Themba, the aims and ambitions of the AIC from a national and provincial level, realistically speaking, of course, when you sit with your colleagues and you sit as a party, what's the AIC's aims ahead of these elections?
If you are a boxer, you get into the boxing ring.
Yes.
You go into the boxing ring knowing very well that you want to win. Even if you know that, hey, for me to win is very, very difficult, but you've got to practice. If you want to swim with big fishes, you must swim with big fishes. Now, our ambitions are very, very high. We say in National Assembly, if we get 10 seats, the minimum. But we are going for a win, actually. We are going for a win. In the provinces that we have contested about 5 provinces. We are expecting about 5 seats per each province. This is our aim. If we can achieve that, then our goal will be achieved.
One final question, Themba. Of course, Hilaal TV is predominantly an Islamic channel with mostly Muslim Muslim citizens, but of course we do cater for non-Muslims and many non-Muslim viewers within our channel. Just your message, I mean, for the Muslim voters who are looking for an alternative party, why would that alternative be AIC?
Yeah, because we need to protect the rights of the Muslims. They've got the right to stay. They've got all the rights to stay. They are people. You know what is happening now in the Middle East? As the party, it hurts us so much.
Yes.
It hurts us so much.
Yes.
And you find out in South Africa, there are parties that would be saying, we are supporting this country over the others that are being killed, maimed on a daily basis. We say, as Muslim community, you've got all the rights, and this is your home as well. AIC is your home. We respect every right of every citizen in this country.
Themba, thank you so much for joining us here on 2024 elections, and all the best ahead of the elections.
Okay, thank you so much, Res. Thank you so much.
That's
Thank you.
Themba Mhlongo. He's the Secretary General of the African Independent Congress. So that's all we have for you here on 2024 elections. I'll be back again on Thursday. For myself, Ross Patel, the rest of the team in Johannesburg. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.